Voyager. Fearless in Love. Still love that tone of those guitars. Oh my god. Oh my god. I wouldn't say I'm as, like, I got it. I was hoping I would have liked this thing to give me the emotions I got out of Better Lovers, but I'm already going to tell you, hell, I was hoping for Masterclass too with this thing, and I'm already disappointed. Right off the bat, I'm disappointed. It didn't hit that for me, unfortunately. However, am I saying it's bad? Absolutely not. In fact, this thing is, despite my disappointments initially from the first listen, it's still grown on me. Even the tracks I initially dismissed, and that I'm thinking of actually throwing this on at a party, should say enough in and of itself. This is an Australian band. This Voyager is an Australian progressive metal-based band that has apparently been around longer than this record, but nobody's really noticed about this band until they started promoting this record technically via Eurovision. Yes, those who have caught up with this year's Eurovision, I didn't know about it, but I knew that they were going into it, and then I found out they placed 9th for representing Australia. To get Australia placed 9th in this year's, because of said song that's on this record, known as Promise, which is how I knew about this band immediately from a New Music Night on Rock's Twitch. You know, I would have went with the opener, but honestly, with best intentions, which isn't a bad opener, but I usually tend to do with my album reviews, but I had to go with the latest single that they dropped in Ultraviolet, because I wanted y'all to hear the lead tone if I don't play anything else off this thing. Hell, it's the highlight of this thing, and it goes to show, like, everyone wants to talk on Lita Strauss as part of being the lady guitarist out here, and your Orianthes and whatnot, and it's this chick from Australia that people should be talking about, because she's pulling out some stops here. Because when those leads pop out, sorry for this projectile spit, they pop out. And in fact, the track Promise was not the only song they tried to put out to Eurovision. In fact, another track that's on this record, the 4th track following Ultraviolet, Dreamer. I mean, just the synth's enough in and of itself. A lot of what I would say this band is to me, I know you're not supposed to do this. I know we're going to upset Corey LaPlante with the subgenres thing, but we're going to have to do this with this one. So, as I would probably put them in that if there's ever a band that deserves the phrase neo-progressive metalcore, it's this band. At least with this record, for sure, because it's very synth-heavy, like synth-era Rush, like at least Signals inspired, and then whatever synth pop came before and after, around that time frame in the 80s. If not synth wave in general, but because it's a very synth oriented record, and a lot of their particular style of metal, of progressive metal, does lean into the progressive metalcore genty side in that more modern sense, but has the more classic sense of progressive metal's roots in power metal, because there's some of that cheese on this thing too, on top of the 80s synthwave cheese. And luckily it is gourmet. If it's Gouda, not gourmet, and not blue or Fermunda. Yeah, I said Fermunda. And I'm talking about an Australian band on top of it. Figure that. Which they are not Fermunda. They're down under, but the quality of their music is not Fermunda cheese. Just saying. Hell, the fact it placed 9th in Australia at Eurovision for Promise shows cases that probably could have been higher if they were already qualified sooner with Dreamer. But, and it's not even like, and some of those tracks aren't, even though Dreamer is definitely going to be the one that's going to pop the most, likely at a party here in the States. It's Submarine, dude. Like, is the deep cut highlight of this entire record. For me. I mean, some people will tell you Twisted, and yes, I mean, Submarine, Twisted, and initially I didn't at first with Twisted, but eventually I started to notice it after a review where it was highlighted, and I was like, I don't know about that. And then I checked it, and I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Daydream's decent. Listen, I totally get. And Grin, aka the pseudo title track of Fearless in Love, really isn't a bad closer. And they have a bad way to close out this record. But I can understand if some people would have preferred this penultimate track listen. But it is what it is. I don't think it's anything that's, because I don't think anything that happens even at its weakest is disrupting the flow or feels super out of place with this record to me. And what's great about it is a progressive style record that is unlike most progressive rock that likes to overdo it, overcook it, and go a little too long for its own good. You don't gotta worry about that. In fact, the longest track, which is the final track, is only just 5 minutes and 24 seconds. So, you know, this album will breeze right by, with the shortest song clocking, which is Dreamer, clocking in at 3 minutes and 1 second. Of course, because that's 3 minutes at the very least, is how much is the most you can go for, apparently rule-wise in Eurovision, from what I've told. But yes, that both Dreamer and I Promise still fit in that regard. And yes, I've heard other tracks from this band in previous ones. In fact, one where they were with Nair Sorlberg. I'm probably butchering his name, but the front man from Lepros. Yeah, they've worked with him apparently, and on this record they work with Make Them Suffer Sean Hermanis, if I'm pronouncing that last name right. And his vocals aren't bad on this thing at all. They definitely are a lot more gruffer than their usual screamer on this band with this band. For those who've listened to Promise and stuff like that. And Dreamer's probably the best lyrically that works for this kind of style, at least in that more synth-wavy sort of dance. Like, I could see Dreamer working for Dreamer probably being one of the few tracks on here that you could definitely pull out at the clubs or at your, like, an 80s theme dance party. For sure. And it's the one thing that this record has going for it is it's fun. It's just fun. And that's kind of that's the one thing that just comes out of this thing. And it's still the heaviest, like, all around to me, that is the most metalcore oriented to me, is Prince of Fire. And it works pretty damn well. I wouldn't say they go as far as being electronic core. They could incorporate some elements mixed in with you could say they were progressive electronic core, but I would say they were more synth-wavy, more, like I said, neo-progressive metalcore, in the sense that they incorporate the more 80s pop rock synth-wave infused styling and whatnot mixed in. At least with this record it does. And I'm told they tried to do this on the last record, and some people said it didn't translate as well. But yet, for some reason, it is with this one. So I picked not a bad record to start with, from what it sounds like, I guess. at least a gateway. And I feel like that's what this album will be, as far as, at least in terms of progressive metal and for metalcore in general, as a gateway. Especially to anyone you know that likes 80s stuff. I like to try that on my mother, but at least within my generation more so. So that wouldn't mind pulling up an 80s party and then throwing this in and it blend in pretty decently, even though they could probably tell the production's more modern. But anyways, it's one of, I would definitely, there's no doubt this album's gonna, like, I can see other people wanting to give it a masterclass certification, or at least worthy of being a much higher, an 8 to 9 at most, out of 10 for most people. And I'll just say at most I'm gonna just go with the 8. It's great. It's definitely great. But for me, I'm my usual grading system. I'll just be nice about it. A high keeping it real to a low horns. I might be nicer and give it a solid horns. It's growing. And that's how much it's been growing on me with the repeated listens I've given it. It definitely allows you to give it repeated listens and still be good enough to be for a party. And I like this. I like this a lot. I wanted to like it more than I did, but I was more pleasantly surprised that it made me want to come back to it still. Even despite my own disappointment, it wasn't enough to keep me from coming back, and it not being masterclass as I was hoping. It's still even worth it listening to. You know, just it's fun. That's all we want, music. We want fun. We want fun. And this is fun. And yeah, this record is that, and it's for sure. Even the synth, hell, I promise you get a synth guitar duo. A sitar, not a sitar, a guitar duo. I don't know if any other bands has done that. I don't know. Not even in the 80s. Or at least anything that was huge. Or my mother would have known about. I'm just saying. It's hard to deny. Hell, for those in the Schmodown, this I recommend to Jews. Like, if there was a metalcore band that the Juice could have been a part of, it would be this. It would be this. Totally. Except his attitude is a bit straighter than this band, I guess you could say. I mean, technically Eurovision is known to be very LGBTQ friendly, and I don't know if Juice could be considered in LA, but I don't know, or whether or not he wants to be or not. I don't know. I'd like to wish I knew the man better, but speaking of that, watch the show. It's good every Wednesday. But anyways, but for the most part, I think that's my thoughts. I think there's one little thing I need to remember and mention before I close this out. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, the vocalist and guitarist Danny and synth work is Danny Estrin. The guitars are Simone Dow, Scott Kay, Simone Dow, which I believe that's her. And background vocalist and bassist is Alex Canyon. Or his drums. Dow is essentially, I believe, is a lady, or at least, unless she's cross-dressed. I don't know. But yeah, it can play. And it has a great tone. That's hard to deny, as I showed in Ultraviolet. Like, of course, then again, my speaker back here kind of sucks, so you might not have gotten the best out of it. But yeah, throughout, like, when the leads come in, you're just like, shower me. Every guitarist will hear this. Just, like, seriously. It's mwah. So yeah. Apparently, Danny seems nice. So he seems like a chill dude I'd hang out with. I don't know. At least from what I've seen in some interviews, you know what I mean? Especially the one he did with Nick Nocturnal recently. So yeah. And yeah, their last record is, I believe, called Colors in the Sun, which was when they started doing more synthy. And this is like a synth-heavy record. But anyways, those are my thoughts that I can think of that are off the bat. I think of, like I said, again, keep it real around, like, solid keeping it real to solid horns. I might have said something different to where it was more of a strong, but it works either way. Anyway, what did you guys think of this album? Leave a comment below, let me know. Hopefully you had fun like I did with this. It's probably making honorable mentions without doubt. I'm figuring out about best of the year. So, best album, I don't know, but I can see it on other people's lists. Potentially. If they gave it a shot, they definitely... I don't bother to listen to it, then they would probably... There's no doubt that they'd at least consider it great. Yeah, for sure. If not, at least great, if not... or if not just pretty damn solid. So, yeah. Yeah, I'd say it was still worth listening to and wanting to come back to. So, and I didn't feel bad about the times I came to listen to it. I just was, and I wound up getting more out of it in repeated listens, like I said, and all that stuff. So, what did you guys think? Leave a comment below, let me know. If you like this video, rock that like button with the rest of your must. Hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell to see more of my videos, to get notified of all my other videos. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.